Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of the loose rose tutorial, where we are learning how to paint loose watercolor roses. In part 1 you learned about the basic method or the ground method, where you have to learn that part in order to learn part 2 and part 3, or style 2 and style 3 of how I paint roses. So if you haven't seen that, I suggest you go back and watch that real quick and practice that. Get really good in that so that you can easily do the second style that I do, which is loosely based off of that one. Okay, so let me go ahead and first just paint, and you can watch, and then we can go through it. So that's how I usually paint my roses. It's quick, and I like the looseness of it. I like the softness of it. So that's how I do it. This paper that I'm using is not the best paper for this method. It's drying really fast, but if you have better paper, I would suggest moving up to better paper to try the second method. Okay, so in this one, I start off pretty much the same as the first one. Like I said, it's all going to be based off of the first method. So if you go and learn that, then this is very similar to that. Made the 2 C's, and it's okay if they touch. And in all of this, all the petals are touching, right? All the petals are touching, and it's kind of hard to tell where one petal ends and the next one starts. So it's all very loose, but there are still gaps, okay? So after my first 2 strokes, I paint a third stroke and I touch a little bit of the first 2 petals, or even just one of those 2. Here comes my 1, 2, 3, 4th. Okay. Did you see how much I wiggled that brush? I really moved it to the left, okay? And then I dip in water. Came back, another stroke, dip in water. Dip in water. So each time my brush is going off the screen, I am dipping in water, okay? So I'm gonna do it again, and I'll show you my water. Let me zoom you out. So just loading my brush. Don't want too much because eventually it's all gotta come off in the water. So here are my first 2 strokes. And then I dip, and then I swipe it along the lip of the jar. And I go back, and then I touch. And then I dip in the water, swipe it. 4th petal. Okay, it gets really light, and it's hard to see. Again, this paper is not the best. Here are a few I had painted when I had first recorded this video. I decided to re-record it because I felt like I had rushed myself. This is using much better paper, and as you can see, as I'm at the very outer edge, it's still very visible. You can clearly see the petals, whereas on this paper it's kind of hard to tell. Okay, So let me flip this and use this good paper and show you. So again, I dip in water and wipe along the lip of the brush, the lip of the jar, each time I go off the screen with my brush. That's what's happening. Okay, and I like that shape, so I'm gonna stop right there. Okay, so quite a difference just from the paper. If you want to compare, this is on good paper and this is on average paper. I would say not the best. Okay, so, and you'll see even when it dries, it's going to dry a lot smoother, whereas you can see how this dried, right? It didn't dry very smooth at all. This is also really pretty. I think it looks really nice if that's the look you're going for. So these are my ones I did yesterday on the good paper, and just want to show you a dried result on this good paper. Okay, so as a beginner, you're going to leave white spaces or gaps, whatever you want to call them. Okay, so even in these ones that I'm not too happy about, you can see the gaps. Okay, or if you want to see the ones that I am happy about, you can see the gaps. Okay, so I left gaps. You want to tuck in edges. Okay, so if you look at method 1, the edges, they don't tuck in, right? I kind of just left them. But in method 2, almost every single petal touches another petal, at least one other petal. Sometimes they touch 3 petals, okay? And it's hard to tell where one starts and one ends. So instead of edges, how about I use the word tips? That makes more sense here. Edges would be something else, okay? Tuck in tips, okay? So I've tucked in like this petal, I've tucked the tip in over there. This petal, I've tucked the tip in. This petal, I've tucked the tip in, okay? Same with all of these. Sure, these 2 tips are not tucked in. They're not joined, but that's okay. Not every single one has to be tucked in, but you'll see a majority of them are. Okay. Let's move on to tip number 3. Okay. The value. Now you should be able to play with how concentrated you want the color to be, even as a beginner, and it's going to come naturally because you've just dipped your brush into paint to paint the first 2 strokes, and then for the remainder of the strokes, 3 fine, but after the 3rd stroke, 1, 2, 3, you have not dipped in water yet. But the rest of them, I told you, right, you're going to constantly be going to dip in water. Okay, so each time you dip in water, that's going to lighten your brush. That's going to obviously wash some of the paint away and lessen the amount of pigment you have on your brush. And so naturally, the outer edge of the rose will be lighter than the very center. Okay, so the center will be darkest and the outside will be lightest, and that's how you're going to naturally have a variation in value as long as you follow that dip method and keep dipping in water each time. You're gonna have that. Okay, so if you look at my latest one, again, this is much darker. These first 2 obviously very dark as compared to the last few petals. Okay, and to end the rose, to be like, you know, this is big enough, I don't want to get any bigger, which is what I had said for this one. This is where I had just tucked the tip in, right? So this is what I mean by tucking the tip in. And I had painted this very small, not even crescent shaped petal, just to kind of end the rose, right? I didn't want to go ahead and do another one here and then another one here. So I had painted this to end it. Okay, and then for some intermediate tips, you can play with color, right? Play with color, and by that I mean as long as it's still wet, you can go back in there and add some color. So I had done this yesterday where I had touched just a tip of yellow into the wet paint, and that's the effect I got. And I can demonstrate that in a second after I repaint this rose to show you one more time. And the second tip for intermediates is try adding marks instead of strokes. Okay, and so by that I mean what I had just explained previously. This is not a full stroke. I had simply just swiped my brush. I wasn't going for the whole C stroke. I didn't do the thin, thick, thin. I just added a mark to end the rose, or to achieve the shape that I wanted. Okay, so let me do the intermediate stuff and show you what I mean by adding color while it's still wet, and then the marks. Okay, my first two, my second, my third. I haven't dipped in water yet. I'm gonna go ahead and start dipping now. Okay, now I'm gonna add a mark. Okay, I'm not gonna add a stroke here. I'm gonna add a mark. I mean, it's still a stroke, but what I mean by add a mark is I'm not doing the full C stroke thing, okay, with a point, pressure point. I'm just there. See, that was, for me, that's a mark. I'm just playing with the shape. How do I want to do this? Let me see. Okay. So I just built on that. That was a mark, okay? And here, just to end it. So you see what I'm doing? I'm not doing full strokes. I'm just trying to give it a roundish final look. Okay. There's a little bit too much of a gap here. I'm going to try to fiddle with it a bit. It's actually dried, so there you go. Okay, I was able to do that. Now, while this is still wet, before I get to talking too much, I'm just gonna dip in. And it's kind of nicer to do, well, this is red. Maybe if I had painted a pink rose and I had dipped in some purple, that's really pretty. This is the one that I do like 99% of the time, just because it's so fast. There are no rules in that. There's no, like, I'm not going for perfection. I'm just going for the final shape of it. I want to keep in mind the value where I want the center to be the darkest and the outside to be the lightest. I want it really loose and where you cannot tell where one petal begins and another ends. Okay, so this is the second method, and I'll see you in the next video for the third method. Again, please leave any comments or questions you have below, and if you're enjoying the content so far, please subscribe. It will really help me out. Thanks.